one of the things you both are emphasizing is, one, the power of structure, whether it's the 4 C's that you talked about, Laura, or another framework or structure that works particularly well for you. Having that framework is so essential to ensuring that, one, you keep the story tight and you don't ramble and veer off in directions, which causes you to lose the power of the story and your audience. It also is so informative for those where this maybe doesn't come naturally. Having that clear structure or outline to follow can be so incredibly helpful. You also talked about really thinking through the role of the character. If you're the lead character in that story, what's important to consider? What else? What other elements are so essential to being a strategic storyteller?
Well, you got me on structure. I definitely think, I often think about things like what's gonna help someone take action. I think functional, emotional. When it comes to storytelling, structure is the functional aspect of it. Emotional is empathy. And I think with those two things combined, I mean, this, just as we're talking about this leader, for instance, who comes into a new company, they're new, the whole team loved the former leader. So empathy with the fact that they don't know him. They had this really amazing connection with the person in the past. There's probably a lot of trepidation. There's maybe a little bit of fear. What's going to change? How is it going to affect me? Having that empathy in that situation would guide someone away from coming in and just like rah-rah selling, all the things that they've done, and really connecting with where they are emotionally in that space. With empathy and structure, you have so much opportunity to connect in various ways. And I think that's, to apply that in a story business context, we often have a lot of people telling a story on behalf of a company, on behalf of a brand, telling a product story. If you have a unified structure, everyone's singing from the same song sheet, and everyone understands that story context and what their audience might be going through, you have a team of people that can tell that story from their unique angle, from their own words, but do so in such a way that there's synchronization, there's uniform success for the company, the brand, the product, whatever the case might be.
I love that. So if it's a brand or product story, there's got to be making it your own, but also making sure that you're honoring the overarching narrative and the main messages that you want to convey. Yeah. It looks like you want to add something, Karin.
I'm just thinking about, you said, like, what else? One of the things that I pay a lot of attention to is the opening of the story. Like, how quickly can you get people on the same, in the same scene with you as fast as you can? And there's 2 ways that I like to do that. One is like tap and transport. So you say, has this ever happened to you? Like, so one of my signature stories is about a time that I really screwed up, is a story about authenticity. And so I set the stage by saying, have you ever thought you were leading extremely well, and it turns out your team wasn't with you? So that's the tap. And then I say, I'd just been promoted to my very first executive role in human resources. It was concurrent with a merger at Verizon. All the players were new, right? And then I set it up. And then as it turns out, I was a single mom. So within 30 seconds, you've got the whole thing. I'm an executive. I've just gone through a divorce. I'm a single mom. And this is what's happening. And so I think one of the mistakes people make is they take way too long to set up that setting. But you can, if you work it, you can get it tight and say, what do they need to know? What is extraneous information that they don't need to know?
I really love that. Actually, one of the questions I was going to ask is, what's your advice for ensuring you don't put too much information in that context, which I often see people do. And and another question we get frequently is, what are my on-ramps? Like, how do I seamlessly kind of insert a story into the broader narrative or the broader presentation? And I love this concept of tap in transport. That's wonderful.